Hi, my name is Alejandro Pérez Pérez, and this is the AI Coffee Podcast. Every 2 weeks, you will have one disruptive aspect of technology and artificial intelligence for the time to drink a cup of coffee. Today, I think we are going to learn a lot from a very wise person. I have the pleasure to have Gianluca as a guest. Welcome, Gianluca.
Hi, hello, Alejandro.
Gianluca Misuraca is an expert in technology diplomacy and international relations, specializing in AI governance and strategic communication. He is the AI for Gov Executive Director, a leading international ecosystem of research, training, and innovation opportunities aiming to use AI to improve public services globally. Wow. Gianluca, it feels like you have done many different things, many different aspects of the digital world, so the public sector. But let's first, if you want, start from the beginning, from your interests, from your personal story. So, could you tell us a little bit more about why did you decide to start your career focusing on these areas?
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks a lot, first of all, for the invitation. It's a pleasure. To be honest, I started my career and I was trained as an economist, although, as I normally say, I tend not to practice. But in practice, then I moved more and more into the area of public sector reforms, public sector innovation, e-government at the beginning when I was working for the United Nations and in the private sector. And then the area of digital governance fascinated me very much because I think is where we have really the interaction between technology and society. And then, of course, artificial intelligence came naturally when you also start looking into the future. So I'm first and foremost a futurist. So I look very much into the foresight perspective of technology. And when I took my PhD on management of technology, I was very much into the area of digital governance and the future of society and how technology actually can impact our lives.
It is very interesting that knowing that you are an economist, and I like the idea that you said that you are not using this let's say first part of your career. But why AI? Because AI nowadays it's a very, let's say, popular topic. But you started your career on AI a couple of years ago. Quite,
Oh,
I
a
mean,
couple of decades.
exactly. So why did you start on that? I mean, just you talk about the future, but at that moment it was really, really not clear that this is going to be the direction. So why AI?
Well, I mean, actually, nowadays everybody is talking about AI as it is something new. In reality, we know very well that it's not so new. I mean, we don't have, I mean, our audience, I'm sure they are aware that this is, but I mean, you have to go back to the 50s actually to see, I mean, the first key question, the Alan Turing test, no? Whether a computer could be as intelligent as humans, provided we humans are really intelligent. And the current situation in the world is not really supporting this thesis. But I mean, one thing that actually came very prominently is the fact that in the last decade we have seen the increase of computing power, the abundance of data, and the fact that we have algorithms that are more sophisticated. I wouldn't say more intelligent, but definitely more complex and also addressing more complex tasks. So in the past, in reality, the term AI was coined back in 56, but basically has been used in different way in research. Has been also contested by many. But so when I joined the Joint Research Center of the European Commission back in 2008, but even before when I was at the EPFL, the École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, I mean, we were looking at this as a very important topic that sooner or later would have actually showed the disruptive potential lead tasks. And that's what is happening now after these, let's say, kind of predictions.
So you predicted really well. I'm actually like, because nowadays everyone talks about that, but it's true that it's very strange to have someone, to know someone, to meet someone that was working on that 10 years ago or even later, before. So yeah, quite an interesting thing, Gianluca. And I would like to ask you what the Joint Research Center is, because well, I know what it is, but maybe for the audience it's not very clear. So maybe can you say something about it?
Yeah, sure. And I mean, I'm actually, the luxury or the lucky to, I've been lucky to work with many other scholars and experts that know much more than I do in terms of the technology side, and but also the implications and the impact of these technologies on society. But what I've been focusing on has been always the impact on the public sector in particular, and on governance. This is really my area of expertise, if you want. That's why I always talk about the governance with, of, and by artificial intelligence. And maybe we come back to this later. I mean, you asked about the Joint Research Center. When I mean, for several reasons, I moved to Seville back in 2009 for. I mean, I came here just for a weekend for a conference on foresight, but then I was asked to join this is a directorate general, actually the largest directorate general of the European Commission, and this specifically focusing on science for policy. So I mean, the JRC does evidence-based policy research to support different fields, from agriculture to economy, of course, and many others. But has been a pioneer in looking at the what was called already at the time, still at the time, information society. So with colleagues, we were looking at the impact of technology on society. Of course, AI, as many other technology, was under the investigation. But what was very important was the social technical impact. And then, when exactly policymakers somehow rediscovered the importance of AI, or they realized that this was coming as an important topic, and also, of course, research done by colleagues, and also by me on digital governance, were actually pointing to the need to better equip policymakers and also our governments with the capacity to manage these soon to come disruptive future. And that's why I mean, we established in the AI Watch, the observatory for let's say, assessing the impact of AI on society. And I was leading in that period the part on the public sector. And there we were, of course, looking at this from an exploratory with an exploratory perspective, because is an area where, despite everybody is talking, there's still very much to be done and very little. And actually, we are only at the beginning of the transformation of our society that digital technology are producing.
Very, very interesting, Gianluca. I would like to also to ask you about one other relevant topic before we start into the subject itself, and it's the AI for Gov, let's say, ecosystem.
Yes.
Well, I met you in the AI for Gov Master. This is not new for the audience. I studied this last year. I already interviewed a couple of persons from this master, so it's not new also for the audience. But you are the executive director, so you are also one of the founders, let's say, of the ecosystem itself. And I'm using the word ecosystem because now it's much more than a master. You have like all the connections around the alumni, also the startups around. Can you maybe describe the project itself and how do you see it?
Indeed, no, thanks a lot, and well, and congratulations. Also, you are a perfect result of what we wanted to what we imagined, what envisioned in terms of the the ambassadors. So the I for Gov ambassadors that we say are those that are let's say, strengthening the network and ecosystem and spreading across the world. Actually, the let's say the little knowledge that we try to develop together, because this program indeed is different from others. So when I was in FAD and JRC still, and with the colleagues, with Claudio Fejo in particular, we were thinking about the need to to establish a program that was not existing. We were looking at the needs of the policymakers, not those of today, actually the policymakers of tomorrow, those that need to be at the same time knowledgeable about the policies, the public administration, but also about the technology. And of course, they don't need to be super expert in a specific, let's say, AI program language or technique, but they need to know what is the behind, let's say, or what is inside the black box, if you want. And that's why we got. I mean, we took the opportunity with the for co-funded program under the Connecting Europe facility. We submitted the proposal, and we were selected out of hundreds of applications. Only 4 projects were selected as a pilots. So back in 2021, when I was then appointed executive director, when I left the JRC, basically we started developing the program, the master in particular, and I mean. We won last year, as you know, the European Digital Skills Award, because somehow we went beyond just doing the homework that we gave ourselves. Basically, we were supposed just to develop the training program and then make a pilot with few students. But since the beginning, we had over 40 students in the first edition. In the second edition, now we have 44 in the third cohort, and many applications that are coming for the coming edition, because the program is becoming sustainable. So we will have a further edition. But what we are doing, as you said correctly, is building an ecosystem and the knowledge hub. And in fact, we are now already developing a new proposal, what we call the AI for Gov Plus, that we want to accelerate the impact. Exactly. You also mentioned a very important aspect is the role that startups and industry have in supporting the government and policymakers. Clearly, this was a niche, but now it's becoming very much mainstream, and there is a lot of interest. I'm working with many organizations from UNESCO, the Council of Europe, and several other, the OECD and others that are focusing on this topic. So, indeed, we are very pleased. I'm very pleased that this program has been so successful, and but this also thanks to the participants like you, that are not normal students, but actually people that are eager to learn and also contribute through the project-based learning approach that we have developed. And what is important is that we have also made something unique, because we put together what we think are best AI experts, like the UPM, the Politecnico Madrid Department of AI, with the Politecnico di Milano Department of Design. Because the idea here is not just to learn about AI, but actually work with the data and also redesign, reframe the services using approaches that are specific of design thinking, but are not necessarily known or used in public sector or when it comes to introducing technology in government.
Yeah, I agree. And well, thank you very much for the beginning. I agree that the combination was really helpful. This combination that you mentioned from the design perspective and the more tech, let's say, field. And I think this is the exact point where no one is at this moment, because there's like a lot of people talking about AI without even knowing what AI is. And there is maybe related to other stuff, I don't know, policymakers, as you say, and from other perspectives. And on the other hand, there is like a lot of people working with AI, but with maybe limited knowledge of the ethical concerns around what they are working on. So it's very important to mix everything together, and I agree with you that it was really helpful and insightful, let's say, to think and working on that. Yeah, great. And I invite the audience to listen to others interviews, because there are like plenty of teachers and students among all the episodes before. So yeah, they will maybe see how everything is going also by just listening how all of us we talk and what we say. Yeah.
And you and them are the best testimonials to show exactly the I mean the success that the program had, and the ecosystem that is building and that is growing very much. But if I may, you mentioned a very important aspect, that is the ethical implications. Indeed, this has been an important focus of the program, and I mean. At the same time, I was, and I'm still leading this program. I was also leading, as you know, the IntouchAI.eu initiative. So this is the international outreach for human-centric artificial intelligence, an initiative funded by the European Commission Service for Foreign Policy Instruments to support policy DGs like DG Connect in their outreach and promotion at the global level. I mean, the project, we concluded it with the fourth European AI Alliance Assembly in Madrid in November. That was very successful, and this was actually titled "The Leading Trustworthy AI Globally." Now, of course, on one side, in Europe, there's been a lot of effort to develop the AI Act, the regulation on artificial intelligence, so with the so famous risk-based approach. I'm sure you have other people that have been talking or will talk about this. So now it is under further development and discussion before to be implemented. But what is also important is the I mean, and that's where the technology diplomacy part come in. Is the fact that in Europe we have been I mean, clear and vocal now with I mean, underline the need to be value based and value driven when it comes to artificial intelligence, and so the European approach is really human centric. So that's why I was so pleased to lead this initiative, and now I moved on, and I'm leading another initiative also funded by the European Commission Service for Foreign Policy Instrument, that is called the DPA, Digital Partnerships in Actions. So I'm leading a project that supports the Commission in establishing, I mean, implementing the digital partnerships with specific like-minded countries, in particular Japan, Republic of Korea, and Singapore, but others will come. So, and of course, this is very interesting because when it comes to artificial intelligence, this is a global challenge that we cannot solve, but working together at the international level.
I completely agree that even, I mean, the whole world together, I think it's a very challenging aspect how to organize, let's say, AI to for good and not for bad, and with all the ethical concerns, maybe, I don't know, sustainability, like job replacement. There's like many questions all around. But you mentioned a term, and I would like to go back to this term and ask you what it is for you: technology diplomacy. Because from what I see, you are an expert in this field. I don't know if you can explain a little bit more how it is, and you mentioned that it's important to create bridges and relationships between countries, as you mentioned, Japan and others. But how important this is, and how can we work with that?
Yes, well, that's. I mean, first of all, I mean, I wrote this in a paper where I tried to define what is tech diplomacy, and I mean, for me, it is an art because it's not something that you can just learn at school, and it is actually something that require also, let's say. capacity building but for everybody, not only the diplomats. So it's not just for diplomats, it's not just for experts of technology, but it's actually something that is needed by all, let's say, policymakers that at different levels are dealing with. Negotiation and contractation or even procurement of technology, because these have, by definition, international dimensions. So, in practice, what is clear now is that when it comes to taking decision on this field, this has implications for society and for everybody. And most of the decision have also geopolitical implications. So it's not a surprise that clearly. Who will win the battle on AI will actually somehow lead the world. No, this has been said by someone that then actually used a very different methods to try to rule the world. But in reality, what we see is that we need alliances coming at different level, and that's why there are now also a lot of initiatives that have been established from the G7 to the G5, for instance, the Global Partnership on AI, but also there are specific activities that are done by the OECD, for example, or UNESCO with the guidelines for ethical use of AI. So clearly. When it comes to a specific area like that seems to be very technical, let's think about standards, for instance, then you still have to be you still need to consider what are the implications that specific decision will have on the society and on citizens. So that's for me in a nutshell why in technology diplomacy is so important.
Also, you mentioned the importance of collaboration between countries and regions. If you talk even further, like, for example, EU, do you see that maybe there is a potential lack of collaboration among different parts of the world? And also talking about the developing regions that maybe cannot be on the race of AI. Is there any kind of mechanism that could work on that?
Yes, well, first of all, let's let's look at our own house, because even in the EU, where of course we are talking about an EU approach, but in reality, and most of the attention is given to the AI Act. But let's say a regulation. Even if it was perfect, and it is not so perfect in many respects, but still wouldn't be enough. So that's only one element. But then, in fact, the strategy on AI that was set up already in 2020 and 2021 was actually relying very much on what is called the coordinated plan of action on AI, where all member states actually agreed to work together to make investment, to really exactly work as a region, let's say a common entity. And to a certain extent, we have improved in that sense, but not yet enough. So I think there's still more work to be done, especially when it comes to the international cooperation aspect. And there, of course, there are initiatives like the Global Digital Gateway, for example, or other initiatives that are trying to have, the EU to be the partner for countries bigger or smaller, like for instance when it comes to the Trade and Technology Council agreements with US or with India, but also a more let's say in the development policies, for instance with Africa, or cooperation with partner countries like in Latin America and the Caribbean. So definitely there is a work that is being established under the leadership of the EU, but more again still need to be done. There are some interesting, promising initiatives like the one I mentioned, the cooperation with specific countries in Asia, from Japan, Singapore, and Korea, where in particular on AI, but also on other technology like semiconductors that are key for AI then to be developed, or quantum computing, or other technologies and application, for instance, in the area of the trusted web, from security of digital identities and signature, that have been established, and that would be the basis for an international cooperation at the, I would say, at the multi-bilateral level, because then we have initiative like the one that the UN Secretary General launched, or the advisory board on AI, that are supposed to hopefully promote a global governance on AI, although this will require much more effort and willingness.
Mhm. I see your point, and I have one question more or less related to this, because we are talking, I think, very high level. We're talking about global like perspectives, global objectives. But let's also try to talk maybe more down level. If we talk about public sector and daily public sector, I don't know, maybe schools, hospitals, and things like that, and halls, local levels also. Do you think that, for example, public officials at that level are prepared for AI and working with AI and data?
Well, I don't want to be too critical, but I mean, I just gave you an example. Last night and this morning, I got two calls from two, a member of a parliament and someone from a cabinet of a minister, and they were asking the same question. Do you have any data, any example or something that we could do, because we want to do things and we don't have a clue? Basically, I mean, this is more an exaggeration, but it's true that we are, on one side, we are lacking the evidence that shows what actually is really working well, or what is instead just wasting of resources and not really useful, and that's actually work for the researchers. So we need more research on this, serious research that assess the social and economic impact of the use of these technologies, especially in public services. On the other side, we need exactly more empowered, more educated policymakers and civil servants, and that's what we wanted to do with the I4Gov and also with UNESCO. We are now developing. What I mean, I define the digital governance and artificial intelligence compass. So
Mhm.
a self-assessment tool and training toolkits that could help policymakers in different regions in the world. We are now piloting this in Africa, in Asia, and Latin America, but even in Europe, where we are more advanced to a certain extent, but still there is the need to better understand and better let's say the better to be better prepared for the use of this technology. And this is particularly the case now with the new emerging of generative AI.
Yes, and it is very important because, well, usually they say that the weakest point of a chain actually it says I mean it says how weak this chain is. So if you have a
Mhm.
public administration, and even though they have very powerful systems with AI and other technology inside, but at the end of the day, the citizen that goes to this platform and maybe needs to fill a paper with a pen, and then maybe provide many documents that are already in the administration, and all of these things that we are a little bit fed up with in general. I mean, I would say that it's not worth it. So it's very important, as you mentioned, to go like completely in all with all levels and all types of public sectors and also administration and the civil servants that maybe some of them need to be reskilled, and this is a very huge challenge also, how to reskill, to skill them all or them at least almost any of them, and it's a very challenge. Yeah.
No, I think, yeah. Well, for instance, one of the approach that we are taking in the work I'm doing with UNESCO is to look at the organizational, let's say, capacity building, because of course I mean, you can create, you can train an army of data scientists, but then these data scientists need to be useful, and
Mhm.
then in the public sector, not to mention, no, the fact that, of course, it's not so attractive also from many respects to work in the public sector. But on the maybe you don't need this too many of these profiles. So you need a mix. You need what someone called the data stewards, so someone that manage the data and make sure then that the AI systems are fed with quality data, because at the end of the day, this is the key aspect to consider. Then, of course, you need a multidisciplinary approach, because that's the other weakest, one of the weakest element that you, when it comes to AI, is okay. This is the technological issue. We need to have engineers and IT guys. Well, no, it's also an issue of social scientists. It's an issue of philosophers and psychology. So this is something that, because these technologies, and that's what when I talk about the governance by artificial intelligence, is because these technologies are actually changing also the behavior of human beings. So the human machine interaction that has always been, let's say, something fascinating. You see all the science fiction movies and all the the dreams or nightmares that we could have by thinking of technologies that take our jobs, as you mentioned, or that can kill humanity. But in reality, this is a complex interaction where we humans, with the capacity we have, the cognitive capacity we have to manage this technology, could actually take benefit, and if we use this technology in a responsible manner.
Mhm. Yes, completely. I agree. And we have talked a little bit about the present. So we have the picture of the present of the public sector and the world, let's say, around AI. But how do you see the future? Are you optimistic about AI and public sector in the future, or more pessimistic? What's your point of view?
I mean, of course, we have to be careful. I mean, I would say very careful, because this technology, differently from other technologies, and as I said, are really changing the way we live, the way we work, the way we do everything. And especially the younger generation, they can be they become addicted, and they can also be misled, and we see that already with social media, with all the AI generated disinformation, and that's why, for instance, a very important regulation that has been set by the EU, that has been much less discussed than the AI Act, for example, is the Digital Service Act, that now with the transparency mechanisms that are being set up, should allow for reducing at least the risks that certain platforms have in I mean, by disclosing at least the way they use data, the algorithms, the way algorithms have been designed, etc. So that's exactly because of the big risk that we have, we also have a huge potential, and that's where we should actually focus our attention. We need to see how this technology can increase our human creativity. How can we use the innovations and even to create services that could not exist without AI or other technologies. I mean, one of the main worry you mentioned is the fact that the robots could steal our jobs, but in reality we could be better off if we have someone doing routine jobs without us bothering for that, provided that of course that jobs are done in a way that is ethical and secure. So we have to have oversight, human oversight. We need to make sure that these systems are also producing profit for the companies that are doing this business, but also that have a human centric approach.
Mhm. So let's hope the future it goes in this direction because, well, you are optimistic as far as I saw. And I am also optimistic for that. So yes, I understand you. But sometimes we see in the news, like there are like many I don't know things happening related to deep fakes.
Yeah,
Even yesterday, I realized. I mean, I define myself a little bit. I don't know if I am an expert yet, but I mean I know many things about deepfakes, about AI. And yesterday in Twitter or X,
since you
I
did the AI for Gov, you are
exactly
at least a functional expert.
exactly I should be at least. But yesterday I was looking at Twitter or X, whichever name you want to use, and I saw a video of the Louvre Museum burning.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my god! Like I was thinking, oh my god, it was like the cathedral like a couple of years ago. And then I saw that just below, this is an AI generated video. And I was like, oh my God, even though I know that it could be an AI thing, the first thing I think that it's not that it is an AI thing. And this is
Mm.
very, very dangerous because if even me, that sometimes I work and play with these kind of videos or images, even if I mean me with this knowledge, I fell into these kind of things, deepfakes. Um, why a normal person shouldn't fall on thinking that this is not an AI thing? I mean, it's very very difficult, and it's going to be like that in the future. So I think we are not prepared for that yet. Maybe in the
No,
future.
definitely we need to put some guardrails, some and so and things need to be more explicit. But I mean, that's why the most important skill that we have to develop, and also especially for the children, is the critical
Hmm.
thinking. The fact that we have to assess exactly if this is something real or not, and trying to be more critical. But at the same time, I mean, let's say society has always been dealing with this. Let's say tension between technology, any kind of technology, look at the printing press or others, and society, the way we use we are used to live, and now these are changed by technology. So of course, as I say, we have to be very careful, but we could, if we manage then to steer this innovation in a positive manner, then we can have huge benefits. But yes, the jury is still out, and definitely we'll need many, unfortunately, still many problems that are already coming in terms of discrimination, in terms of lack of opacity of the systems, lack of transparency. So
Hmm.
that's where the policymakers need to be serious about the need to have some mechanism in place, exactly to ensure that and to protect the human rights of the most vulnerable people.
Hmm. Yes, yes. So let's see the future how it's going to be. But I mean, the only thing is that it's going to be, even though we do anything or not. I mean, it's going to happen. So yeah, it's better to be prepared.
Yeah, this is what I always say. There is this book by Cass Sunstein on the precautionary principle. So the book is called The Law of Fear. So that, of course, if we I mean, if we just followed our fear, then we should avoid to do almost anything. In reality, and this is exactly the case with this technology, especially with the large language models that we cannot really control so as much as we would like to. So of course we can say, okay, no, we don't use chat gpt, we don't use this or that, but then we can limit ourselves, because exactly the potential benefits that could be generated by this in education, for example, or in health, or in exactly to support those citizens that are in most difficult situation, that's where this technology could really make the difference. So I think, of course, we have to have, as usual, grano salis, no, cum grano salis, but we should actually look at the capacity that this technology can have to support our human processes.
Mhm. Very wise words. I will have a look at this book later. Yeah, it has a sense. So we are almost ending our conversation, Gianluca. It has been a pleasure. But before you go, I will ask you three things. So the first thing is, if you could provide a piece of advice to someone that maybe is listening this and wants to learn a little bit about AI, but from your perspective, from the diplomacy perspective, your more social perspective, then how can the audience contact you if they want to? And also the last thing, as this is the AI Coffee podcast, I always ask at the end of the podcast, what's your favorite type of coffee? You are an
Okay.
Italian, so I guess which one it is, but yeah, I'm curious about that.
Okay, let me start with the advice. I mean, of course, the easiest one will be to join the AI for Gov master program, but that's too easy. I mean, but what we are doing now with the new program we are setting up, and with working with UNESCO, is also having let's say more I mean different and customized capacity building and training programs. So and for instance, now I'm working with a number of countries in the world where we do develop specific training programs also on AI, but not only. Because what is important is that, okay, you can focus on artificial intelligence because it's sexy, it's very important, it's very nice. You can also make money out of it, but you cannot do this in isolation. We need to link to the entire ecosystem. So when it comes to the public sector, this is a governance issue. It's not just about the specific technology that you use, but how this is integrated and embedded in the complexity of the public sector. And so how you innovate, how you redefine also certain procedure and processes. So the advisor, apart from the of course always increasing our capacities, is to really embrace the complexity, look at the challenges in a comprehensive manner. And as you may remember from the program, some of the colleagues always say reframe, reframe, reframe. So you always have to think out of the box, trying to see, for instance, very simple. Do you really need to use AI for something? Maybe you don't. And maybe
Mhm.
actually you are complicating things rather than solving. But on the other side, AI in certain area could be very useful, but you need to know exactly as you say, what is AI, why you want to use AI, and what are the implications. Now, the second question was about the
How
uh,
can we contact you?
yeah. This is very easy. I'm on social media at the moment, on LinkedIn, mainly used for professional purposes. So you just drop me a message. I have an open profile. So I have also several emails, but these are now also changing. But anyway, you can contact me anytime. Also on X, on Twitter, or other social media. And I'm happy to exchange, because we always learn from exchange. Now I'm also have I didn't mention I have also my own company that is called Inspiring Futures, and we are doing quite a lot of interesting work, not only on AI. For instance, now we are working on the Openverse, that is a new project of the European Commission to go beyond the metaverse. But And I'm involved in many other activities. But coming to the most important question about the coffee, I was now I'm just back from a month sailing in the South Pacific, and I was very lucky because we had a lot of Colombian coffee with us.
Wow.
That since the captain of the boat came through the Pacific, he made from Galapagos, from Colombia to Panama, Galapagos, and then to Polynesia, where we met, French Polynesia. And definitely, like a technology diplomacy, I said before, is an art. Good coffee is also an art. Actually, in Italy, for instance, we don't produce coffee, but we are known for having a very good coffee. It's because the way it is prepared makes these apparently good and different. But let me finish with because the coffee is very very interesting metaphor and example. And I was presenting. I was asked to present and explain to all. I mean, to representative to of all EU member states at quite high level. Let's say Minister, Secretary of State. What is AI? I say, okay, I was very worried because you go in front of a number of quite powerful people, and then you cannot be very simplistic, or on the other side you don't want to go into very complicated discussion or presentation. So, and I found a very elegant way to explain what is an algorithm. And
Mhm.
surprise, surprise, uh, even making a coffee is an algorithm. So you have to follow a specific procedure, and you cannot just put the water after and the coffee before. You have to follow specific rules, and then if you make the algorithm, I mean, you follow the algorithm well, then you may have a good coffee that most probably will be an Italian coffee.
Yeah, that's a good algorithm. Let's say the Italian algorithm. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so thank you very much, Gianluca. It was a pleasure having you here. I have learned many things, and it's always interesting to talking about the perspective, the global perspective of artificial intelligence. That I think is very important and necessary. And yeah, having you here again and listening to you again, it was a pleasure for me.
Well, thanks to you for the invitation. Muchas gracias, and congratulations for the work you are doing. And I'm sure we will meet again, because, as we always say, AI is just at the beginning, and actually the entire digital transformation of society is just we're just at the beginning of this process. And I keep being optimistic about the future of AI and the future of our society. But of course, we need really to make an effort to ensure that we don't go into the bad and the wrong direction.
Great. And also, thank you to you that are listening to this podcast one more week. Thank you very much. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to the podcast and please rate 5 stars whenever you're listening this episode. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye bye.